Hey guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being patient. Obviously, we had some technical issues trying to get the show up and running tonight. Problem with the Ball Truth website, but it looks like everything is working. So welcome to the broadcast. I'm Spencer Kobren. If you are new to the broadcast, don't know who I am or why I'm here, this is the Hair Loss Show. That's right. I know it sounds bizarre. So if you're tuning in on iTunes Radio or Stitcher Radio or the dozens of online resources that pick up this broadcast and you're not into it, then, it's time to change the channel. But if you are like the vast majority of households in this country, or if you're part of one of these households who have at least one person dealing with hair loss, then you probably want to continue to watch this show. Let me give out the phone number, 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. I got to laugh, when it rains, it pours. I'm taking a shower like 20 minutes ago, rushing to I just got back to the studio, which is in my home, and I get soap in my eye. It's killing me. Then I try to get online. Things are not working, and then I'm told that the site is down. But apparently everything's working now. So I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out and waiting for the top of the show. I'll give out the phone number one more time, 888-659-3727. Listen, tonight we have a friend of the Ball Truth, a special guest, a guy who has been a part of what we do for many, many years, Dr. Alan Bauman, who is not only an IAHS accepted member and, of course, recommended by the American Hair Loss Association, but a guy who really understands, in my view, the emotional connection that we all have to our hair. And he has been able to really get himself out through the mainstream media, discussing just about every aspect of hair loss. And I think the media loves him because he, really has, I think, a real sense of empathy for all of those who are dealing with hair loss. Now, on a personal note, at least for him, he's not much of a hair loss sufferer. I don't even think he's in his 40s now, and we can talk about that when I bring him, when I pot him up. But I know that there's obviously hair loss runs in his family. He has done some tremendous work to help his father, hair transplants, to help his father regain his confidence and his full head of hair. But most recently, there's been a lot of news, and I got to say, and Dr. Bauman may disagree with me when I pot him up, but a lot of hype about facial hair transplants in the news. I'm a fan of facial hair transplants for the right candidate. If it's done right by a skilled surgeon, by someone who really knows what they're doing, then it can be a great procedure for those who need it. But there is this whole trend now that seems to have, at least the media is pointing to New York City hipsters who really are getting these designer beards and designer facial hair. And the way that it's being presented, it's almost as though it's just like, you can just kind of get this hair off the rack and just figure out what you want, what configuration you want, and go to anyone who's offering this procedure and have it performed like it was just, like going to the dentist. And that, in my view, is certainly not the case. I was recently interviewed by, I'm not going to say the newspaper, they were doing another story on it. And, I gave them the facts, how I felt about it. But Dr. Bauman is someone who does a lot of facial hair transplants, and he was asked last week to talk about it on the Howard Stern show. And what I think Howard expected was just a simple conversation about facial hair transplants. But Dr. Bauman, who is pretty media savvy and who I think really understands what people want to hear, asked Howard some pretty direct questions, and we're going to talk about that. Let me see if this is Dr. Bauman on the air right now. Dr. B, is that you?
It's me, Spencer. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you? I can't complain.
I'm doing fantastic. Get the soap out of your eye?
It's killing me. It's still it's a little red, but it's okay. I'll be fine.
Well, I'm glad you could step out of the shower and do the show for us.
Yeah, well, listen, listen, it's hard work, but someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Hey, you do it every week, man. It's that is hard work.
So, listen, you were on Howard last week, right?
Yeah, I was on Tuesday morning.
And first of all, let people know why you were asked to be on. I did, but maybe you can explain it better than I did. And you can talk about your experience a little bit. And I'd love to play. I have a couple of clips that I want to play as well.
Oh, okay, great. Well, as you mentioned, beard hair transplants seem to be taking over the media, and we got contacted by the Howard Show about beard hair transplantation. And I've been doing beard hair transplantation, actually, for many years before there were even hipsters.
That's right.
I don't know. I thought maybe like hipsters were like jeans or something like that years ago. I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong. But, yeah, so here in South Florida, the Latino population is really concerned about their beards and mustaches, goatees, and things like that. I mean, it's a big sign of machismo.
Of course.
And being macho, of course. And so if there's, if they can't grow a full beard, then a lot of these patients have come to me for that. So that was the original discussion. And actually, I had a little bit of a pre-interview with some of Howard's staff the day before the show. And, as a hair doctor, and also as a Howard Stern fan for many years, I have to say, I used to listen to Howard in the back of the bus coming home from school.
Sure.
When I was 13, 14 years old. We used to listen to AM radio when he was on WNBC in New York. And I followed him through his career. I haven't listened steadily all those years. There's some gaps in between, but he's always been there. And I've always seen his hair.
Right.
And I think that there's always been kind of a question in the back of everyone's minds. Well, gosh, this guy's a certain age, and look at his hair. It's phenomenal.
Well, and listen, that's always been the question. And what happened, I'm not going to say to me, but, what I was involved in about a decade ago with Howard Stern. And, sadly, I was on a local station here in Los Angeles, 97.1, the FM talk station, KLSX. It was a Howard Stern station. I was doing the Bald Show on the weekends. It was a Sunday broadcast. And, listen, I knew that we had a big audience, but who knew that Howard and Howard's people actually listened to the Sunday night broadcast? Well, someone called in. Actually, someone came into the studio. That was a friend of my sidekick, Dave's, who claimed to work in the same building as Howard worked when he was doing the show from K-Rock. And she just mentioned that she saw Howard Stern in the elevator, and at least to her, it appeared that Howard was losing his hair. That was it. The phone started to ring off the hook, and people wanted to talk to her about this. Now, she asked me what I thought. I said I had no idea. I never met Howard Stern. I'm not the type of guy to go on and try to out celebrities about their hair loss. But I got a call Monday morning from the program director of the station saying that Howard and Howard's people called them over at KLSX and asked what the hell was going on. Why is this guy who has a Sunday weekend program talking about my hair on the air? And apparently he was very upset about it. And I was told never to speak. Well, I was asked never to speak about Howard's hair on my show again. And it was a pretty big rigmarole over just somebody claiming or saying that Howard may have some hair loss. So I think you kind of we discussed this. I mean, we were working together at that time, right?
Yeah, I think that was in the very beginning, right?
That was at the very beginning. That was at the very. So there was some sensitivity back then. But listen, I want to play some of your segment from this week, and we can kind of let the listeners get a sense of what went down. Let's see if I can make this happen.
Rid of all hair?
Yeah, it's just useless.
Really?
Except the hair on your head?
Except the hair.
Some problems here. Hold on for 1 sec.
Rid of all hair?
Let's try it again.
I don't know. I hope genetically in the future, men
We get rid of all hair?
Yeah, it's just useless.
Really?
Except the hair on your head?
Except the hair on your head. You got to keep that. That's like key.
No doubt about that, Howard. Well, now, what about that hair on your head?
What about it?
Well, I mean, it's been amazingly thick and full. What's your secret?
My grandfather, my grandpa Sal, had full, like, black hair. He used to slick it back till he was, and I looked just like him. And he had full jet black hair till he was in his 80s, and then when he got like 90 something, it turned gray.
Now, I got to ask, doesn't he sound a little less comfortable than he usually sounds on the air?
Definitely.
I mean, doesn't it sound like he's kind of a little bit back on his heels, and he was not expecting that question?
Yeah, because, I mean, you didn't play the beginning of the clip. You know, it seemed like he was a little bit more interactive, and then all of a sudden, as soon as I asked him about his hair, you know, he almost like went cold on me a little bit, and it was kind of interesting to be on the other end of it.
It is interesting. Listen to the rest of this.
And he had big, thick head of hair, and I think I got lucky. That's my mom's
Yeah, I mean,
dad.
look how dark it is. It's amazing. But your dad had some hair loss, though, right?
My dad's bald. I always just figured I'd be bald.
Uh-huh.
But it has nothing to do with the dad. Suppose someone told me it's your mother's father.
Well, it can come from both sides of the family, you know? I mean, it's not just the mom.
Yeah, your dad is in there, too.
I don't know, but I thank God for my head of hair. It's just so great because I got such a fucked up face. It's great.
Yeah, but, you know, it frames it, right? You always kind of wear it down, framing the face.
What am I going to do, put it up in a bun?
Well, I don't know.
What do you mean? I know how I wear my hair.
Your hair is, you know, a cause for a lot of debate here, Howard.
Where?
Well, you know, there's some questions about, gosh, it's so thick and full. Like, how does he keep it that way?
Well, what's the debate?
Well, the debate is if it's real or not, you know.
Oh, yeah. People write me all the time and said, you must wear a wig. Oh, please. But,
and you know, well, you can understand that, right? Because you have, like, a private hairstylist that travels with you, right?
I mean, when we do America's Got Talent, it's not private. She works.
I mean, listen to him. I've never heard him so timid.
Howard Stern at the Stuttering John.
Dude, let me tell you something. It was gangsta. You really, it was pretty amazing. Listen to the rest of this.
For a lot of people.
We see her all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's what they do in show business. They have a hair and makeup person that dials you up. We all have it. The only person on America's Got Talent doesn't have he's got a makeup person, but he doesn't have his hair, is Howie Mandel.
He doesn't have any hair to worry about except that little patch under his, under his lip there, right?
Wait, okay. Hey, Dr. Baum, let me get back on top.
He was flustered. He didn't even know how to react to you.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, my heart was racing just listening to that again. Actually,
well, you know, it was interesting. First of all, you did a great job, and I thought it took a lot of balls to even present that line of questioning the way that you did. You did a great job.
Well, it's on everybody's mind. It was on my mind. I mean, how could I get on the show? How could I be on the show and not ask about that?
Well, I think it would be. Yeah, a disservice to hair loss sufferers around the world who are listening to Howard, you know, throughout the country and, of course, online. And obviously that is a question in everybody's mind. I prefer not even to voice my opinion about it. You know, and I made that clear a long time ago. I am not here to tell you guys whether or not I think Howard Stern's hair is real. I mean, frankly, I don't care. But he was so pissed at me and at the program years ago that, you know, I decided to actually have Dave at the time, my intern. Well, he wasn't my intern; he was actually my sidekick at the time. Started off as an intern. Call the show to ask him about why he was so upset, and just to kind of get a reaction from him. And I mean, he really went off on Dave. I have a couple of clips here. Maybe you guys want to listen. Let's see.
I don't mean to be adversarial. I'm just saying this has come up on the show. And I know we're asked not to talk about it, but people are calling.
What did they tell you? What did they tell you?
Well, they told us we shouldn't talk about it.
Talk about what?
Talk about your hair loss.
I don't have hair loss. I have more hair than you do. Why would you go ahead and keep saying I have hair loss if I don't?
Yeah, why are you talking about a hair loss? It doesn't exist.
You know, I think you're being unnecessarily hard on us. You know, like I said,
who cares? I'm a man who deals in the truth.
We do too.
Well, then deal in it.
What are we dishonest about? Someone came on the show.
Yeah, and said.
They said they saw you in an elevator. They said you're losing your hair.
And what did you say?
And
what did you say?
We didn't say that. It's been coming up every week on the show, and you guys have been calling and saying we can't talk about it. Well, what are we supposed to do?
I don't want you mentioning my name.
If someone asks about it,
I don't care. Find something else to talk
about. Now, listen. You have to realize the position that I was in back, 10 years ago. Now, what Howard didn't say, and what he was trying to imply was that we were somehow just advertisers on KLSX. Well, the truth of the matter is, when I first was asked to be on that station, I was working in New York, CBS, a salesperson from CBS Radio here in Los Angeles, contacted me and basically wanted to license the broadcast so that they can then sell it on their station in Los Angeles. We made a deal. I was getting a check every week for 1 hour of my broadcast from CBS Radio for $500. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money, and technically I was not working for KLSX, but CBS was paying me for my broadcast. So we were not paying for advertising until the guys at CBS, when I initially made the deal with them, I said, listen, I'm a consumer advocate. I can only allow certain companies to advertise in the program because I'm really trying to guide people in a safe direction. They agreed. I gave them the list. They agreed not to sell the broadcast to these particular companies who were in Los Angeles. Well, lo and behold, because they saw how much money they could make, they began selling to the large chain clinics, to companies that I absolutely could not endorse. And I had to go to them and say, listen, either you stop doing this or I'm going to take the show off the air. And I was doing really well in Los Angeles. I didn't want to take the show off the air. So I asked them how much it would cost me to buy the airtime. And that's how that started. And I find it interesting that the only thing that Howard was able to talk about during this entire, the way basically he was trying to demean Dave on the air. He was trying to deflect from the whole hair loss thing and just say that, we weren't even a real radio show. And at the time, it kind of pissed me off, but I get it. Who wants to go there? If you're that sensitive about your hair, whether he has hair loss or not, obviously there was a chord that was struck. So apparently he was very, very upset. And I got to tell you, this is over 10 years ago. I think you got him even more upset, Doc.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, he did not recover well from that. He went home, when was it, Tuesday? He went home Tuesday, and he probably bugged his wife or his girlfriend. Is he married? Or his girlfriend about asking her a million times, does my hair look fake?
Yeah, well, gosh, I don't know. I could certainly imagine what he was dealing with. You remember my dad wore a hairpiece for many, many years, and I remember him struggling with it. And
yeah, but I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that Howard Stern is wearing a hairpiece, but that is what people think.
And I don't know either.
Right. That is what people think.
At the photos,
experts in the field have said that they believe that Howard's hair is not his own. But what I found interesting about it 10 years ago is that he was so concerned about, this guy that does his little hair loss show on the weekends. That's what really was interesting to me. And, we actually have, and we're going to talk more about this and also talk about the fact that Howard Stern bet me on the air $50,000 that his hair was real. And he said that we can come in there, we can check out his hair, we can bring a doctor, and all we have to do is put up $50,000. Now, I accepted the bet, but for some reason, Howard never got back to us. So we're going to talk about that in a sec. So, Doc, let me put you on. I'm not going to put you on hold. I'm going to keep you potted up. And wait, hold on. Let me see if I can do that right. Hey, is this Chauncey?
It is. Can you hear me okay?
How are you, man? Can you hear us? Yeah.
Yeah, you sound loud and clear. I have you on speakerphone.
Hey, listen, man, I really appreciate you calling in. And, for those who don't know, Chauncey Hayden was a big part of the Howard Stern Show for many years. Chauncey, how long were you connected to the show?
18 long years.
I don't even want to get into that, why they were so long. But, what do you think about this whole thing? Why do you think Howard was so pissed at me? Why do you think Howard seemed to really get his hackles up when Dr. Bauman was asking him about his hair on the air that last week? What are your thoughts on the situation?
My thoughts are, it's always been a real sensitive issue with Howard. And honestly, why would it be a sensitive issue if it wasn't something that was problematic for Howard himself? You know, I mean, thou protest too much is how I look at it.
Well, I mean, listen, you know what I find interesting, and I'm going to play this clip in a second, but, he got on the air and he berated my sidekick Dave, basically saying that we were an infomercial and that we were selling all kinds of lousy products or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is, Howard Stern took advertising dollars, or the company that he worked for took advertising dollars from some of the worst in my view. And Howard did personal reads, for companies and for hair transplant surgeons that, in my view, have really harmed a lot of people. You were one of the guys who were harmed by one of his sponsors.
Oh, it was, and not just me, Billy West, Steve Grillo. There was a slew of us that got our surgery for free, and it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. But that was all under the Stern umbrella. We were all bamboozled at the time.
And that's what I found interesting when I was listening to that at the time. And it was fine. Listen, it was great publicity for the show. I was newly on the air. It was really good for what we did and also for book sales. So I want to thank Howard Stern for that. But he really focused on the idea that, he was this big shot in radio and that we were out there just trying to get his goat and trying to ride on his coattails and talk about his hair loss, when the fact of the matter is, we did a hair loss show. I would never have brought that up if a caller didn't come in and say she, with her own eyes, saw Howard and believed that he was not wearing his own hair, or that what was on his head was not his own hair. What are we supposed to do with that, Chauncey? We're not supposed to talk about it?
Well, of course. Well, I could talk forever about this. I have so many viewpoints on it, and I can tell you from my own expertise. I myself, once the transplants went horribly wrong, switched over to a hairpiece.
Right.
And I know the industry very well. I know the look very well. And I know the good ones from the bad ones, and I can spot one 100 miles away. And when you look at Howard and you look at that hair, I'll tread lightly how I say this, but a company that I went to, you probably know them, called Farrell.
Sure.
Do you know Farrell?
I do. Actually, Howard used to advertise. He used to do live reads for Farrell.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever saw a picture of the CEO of the company, I believe his name was Richard Farrell.
Right.
You look at him, look at his hair, and then look at Howard, and look at Howard's hair. It's almost identical. They have the identical style, the identical hair.
Dr. Bauman, he's killing me here. How am I supposed to react to this?
Well, it's interesting because, how are you supposed to react? Well, look, when I put the word out that I was going to be on the show, I got some of that same information on my Twitter feed and also on my Facebook page. And people were literally, putting the pictures together and saying, look, it's the same make and model. So,
I don't mean to laugh, guys. Come on.
No, and it's, so look, if we're talking about how celebrities handle their hair loss situation, right? We have to try to get to the bottom of it. And how does it relate to the average person? That's how I think about it.
Right.
And if Howard Stern is having trouble with it, then you can imagine that there are tens of millions of other guys out there who are having trouble with it. And it's not just guys in their 20s; it's guys in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and on up, right? How old is Howard this year?
He's like 60 years old, I think. But this is how I look at it. Maybe because I do this for a living, but I tell the world that I paint my scalp. Now, what's worse? You know what I mean? As far as, when people freak out. If I'm at a party and people ask me about what I do, and they're like, oh, your hair looks pretty full, I kind of show them the paint job. I'm like, I still have a lot of hair, but I paint my scalp. I will fill in the hairline if I'm not feeling good about it that day or whatever. And there's a little bit of look of mortification, but then they're kind of like, well, it looks good. They don't think twice about it after a while. Why can't other people in the limelight just be honest about what they do? Because so many people are suffering.
I can answer that. I can give you a really good answer to that. And you have to look at someone in the limelight like Howard. His hair has always been his trademark, his brand has been his hair. And the problem is that we all age. We all get older. Nobody can keep it tight and firm forever.
Right.
And that's our face, our eyes, our chest, our legs, and our hair. Our hair. Howard looked at it at his hair almost as a Corvette he kept in the garage, sparkly and shiny. But that's not life. He would have been better off letting his hair age with his face. But what the mistake Howard has made, and why people talk about it now more than they did even years ago, is because, and I see this mistake all the time, he's not letting his hair age with his face. And it gets to a point where it starts to look bizarre. You can tell me how you feel about it, but that's when I see Howard, I see an old face with 20-year-old hair, and that's why people point and start to laugh.
Yeah, well, I think that's a pretty common issue for a lot of guys. And I always talk about guys. People ask me why. Like on camera, you can't really see it, but I'm very salt and pepper. And people always ask me, especially Andrew Zarian for some reason, why I don't dye my hair. Well, I think first of all, if I dye my beard, I would look like a magician. I think it looks ridiculous on most people. And I'm going gray. I'm just thankful that I have the hair that I have. I'm not trying to fool people into making them to believe that I'm, 30 years old. I'm not. I'm a year and a half away from 50. That's just the way that it is. So why not try to, age as gracefully as possible? Now, it's interesting that you're talking about how Howard he didn't grow into his hair, because there is some stuff that I was sent from. I sent a video from 1981. When he was 27 years old. And I think that this is pretty telling. Let me see if I can play this. I'm just going to play the audio of it.
And I'm sorry to report, Howard, that there is no acceptable cure for baldness.
Well, why are you sorry to report? Thank God I'm not bald.
Well, I thought that you were having some problems.
What do you mean I'm having some problem?
Losing a little bit of hair?
No, why do I look like I'm going bald?
Is your brush getting a little bit more full?
It is, though, but I don't think I'm losing my hair.
Well, it has to start somewhere, Howard.
But I'm 27 years old. Wouldn't I have lost my hair already if I was going to lose it?
Not necessarily. It could be starting now.
Oh, my God. If I lose my hair, I will be so ugly.
Let me see your forehead.
Yeah.
It's receding, Howard.
It is receding?
It is receding, yes.
You think my hairline is receding?
Well, let me tell you, Howard, doctors at the University of Indiana find that even implants are dangerous and ineffective, so you don't even have any hope there. They researched 4 men who had the implants of either real hair or synthetic fiber, and they found it causes painful swelling of the face and head about 5 days after surgery, and then the hair starts to fall out. And the implants fall out spontaneously after 12 weeks.
You really think my hair is receding?
Well, I do think you're losing it.
My hair is receding?
All right, so this is 1981.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So, I listen. I'm not here to judge. I have no real clue. I have never met Howard in person, and I'm not here to out celebrities. But what do you say to that?
I say guilty as charged. It's one of the things that helps Howard, and believe me, I'm not trying to make fun of him. I just find it so fascinating. The vanity is what I find fascinating, the extreme vanity. And especially for those of us who have been there, we can relate to it. So there's a connection. One of the things that helps Howard Stern is his height.
Sure.
He always towers above everybody else in the room. And that has always been a real strong card for him to play. Most people of average height, when they wear these things, all the little flaws come out. People can see underneath the mesh, or they can see a little bit of glue, or they see something not quite in place. Even the really good ones. Howard is like 6'4".
Right.
Everybody's so far below him. You really don't get that opportunity, and not only that, most people don't even get that close anymore to even look at it. But I'm looking at a picture now on the internet, a current picture, one of the most recent pictures, and I really have to laugh because it really does look like one of those crazy old mop head mesh hair pieces. You just don't even see those anymore. You know, it's
that's well. Listen, that's certainly not my opinion. You know, that's your commentary. But the truth is, he has a lot of anger, and he had anger 10 years ago. And you know, for him to actually call or have Gary call Bob Moore, he actually said he called on the air, but have Bob Moore to let him know that we were somehow talking about his hair and that we shouldn't be allowed to do that. To me, that speaks volumes. And I think that's a pretty big issue. I want to play this. See what you think.
You know, I think you're being unnecessarily hard on us. You know, like I said,
who cares? I'm a man who deals in the truth.
We do too.
Well, then deal in it.
What are we dishonest about? Someone came on the show.
Yeah, and said.
They said they saw you in an elevator. They said you were losing your hair.
And what did you say?
And what did you say? We didn't say that. It's been coming up every week on the show, and you guys have been calling and saying we can't talk about it. Well, what are we supposed to do?
I don't want you mentioning my name.
If someone asks about it,
I don't care. Find something else to talk about.
Scary, wonderful show.
Yeah.
If we send someone in, we'll check it out. We'll check out your hair. Then
good. Let's do it. 50 grand. 50 grand.
For the privilege. 50 grand. I will talk to Mr. Kobren about that.
Mr. Kobren. Why can't you call the guy by his first name, you
Spencer.
weirdo?
Okay.
Who? Spencer?
Spencer Kobren.
I'll talk to you can't even call the guy you work with Spencer. You call him Mr. Kobren? You weird flake.
So you're saying you're not losing your hair?
He sits and washes his head with douche das.
I just don't understand why you're so concerned about it.
Because I don't like people who lie, especially when they work for my company that I work for, and I'm the main breadwinner of this company.
But people are talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, if I were a betting man, I'd say that you were losing your hair.
Well, whatever.
Well, let's bet.
Who
You're
cares
not
what
any
you think?
kind of man. Where's the bet?
How much money you got? Let's go for it.
50 grand.
Really?
Want to go 50 G's?
I'm willing
You
to
and
come
Mr.
in. We'll bring a top doctor.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at your head. If you're not losing your hair, you've got nothing to worry
And I'll
about.
provide the doctor.
Give us some money.
50 grand.
Come on.
Come on, let's put it up.
50 grand?
Yeah, 50 G's, douchebag.
Big shot.
I got more hair than you.
Hey, I'm not a big shot. I'm just the guy that works for the show.
Yeah, but you don't have the 50. Don't put your money where your mouth is. 50, 100 grand. Let's go.
If you're not losing your hair, why wouldn't you let us come in and settle the
I
record?
will. I want 50 to 100 grand,
And we'll
though.
be more than happy to talk about it on the show. If you're not losing your hair,
Get
when people
out of
call in and
here,
ask,
you
we'll
idiot.
say,
Come here.
We
pay
checked
him
it out.
money, and you can run your fingers through his hair.
You can run your fingers through my hair as soon as you give me some money. $50,000.
Come on.
That's what I want. You can pull on it, tug on it, do what you want.
Okay.
So the funny part of that is, Dave came back to me and he said, "Listen," and I wasn't up at the time because I was actually in Los Angeles when this happened, and he said, "You know, they want to bet $50,000. What do you think?" And I said, "Call him back and take the bet. Call him back and tell him that Mr. Kobren will take that bet." And you know what? We could never get through.
Heard from him.
Never, ever heard from him. And this is what I said, and I said this on the air. Not only will I take the bet, but the winnings will go to the charity of his choice. So I don't even want his money. Let's just do this. Whoever wins, the money goes to charity. And that's it. Didn't hear a thing. Now, you know, what do you say to that? How do you deal with that?
I don't know. I you know what? Again, I say that if he had nothing to worry about, he would do more. He would say, "Robin, come here, pull on it, tug on it. You notice how he defends it to a certain point, and then you can't get close to him or near him, and he won't touch it or let anyone else touch it. If I had real hair on my head and people were questioning it, you know how fast I would dispel that rumor? I could do it in a heartbeat. Why doesn't he? You know, I'm going to say this, and I don't know if it adds anything to this conversation or not, but we were talking about Farrell a few moments ago.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, and you can form your own opinion. So I was considered at the time a VIP client of Farrell because I had a show on ABC News. I was on Fox News. I was on TV quite a bit. So they're more discreet about people that have a career that's in the public.
You got the back room, the whole thing.
Yeah, they have a special VIP room where you get your hair done in his New York office at the time. And on the wall of that particular cubicle, where you would go to get your hairpiece glued back on,
There's a picture of Howard Stern.
Not just Howard, but every celebrity you can think of that is a known hair replacement wearer.
Interesting.
It just seems very odd to me that you would have a list of those people, 8 by 10 photographs of them, and Howard in that room.
Well, and listen, I couldn't agree more. And, Dr. Bauman, we know you've kind of made it clear that there's a question out there, at least, throughout all the professionals in the field. And I think that, Alan, you still there?
Yes, I'm here, man.
Yeah.
I'm here.
And I think
So
that
solid.
you've definitely made a tremendous impression. I think what you did was important. And I don't know if you were just trying to get a rise out of him or you really, I think that you really kind of wanted to help answer a lot of people's questions. And I'm sure when people found out you were going to be on Stern, that was the first thing they probably asked you was his hair real?
Well, absolutely. It was the first thing that I thought of. I got to ask him about his hair. Just so you know, I mean, I had a little bit of a discussion with Will, one of the producers, and he was, he actually seemed kind of fine. Said, no problem, ask him, it'd be great. So I kind of got a little bit of encouragement to go ahead and ask. I did,
and I'm glad you did. And I think
I did.
You did a great job. Now
I had to ask. I mean, there was no way I was going to go on the show. For better or for worse, there was no way I was going on with Howard Stern and not ask him about his hair. I had to.
Well, what's interesting? First of all, I think he treated you with tremendous, and you treated him with respect too. But he treated you with a lot more respect than he would have treated me if I was to go on the program and ask him about his hair. Possibly because you're a physician, and I also think you kind of caught him off guard. I'm surprised that his producer didn't tell him that you were probably going to ask him about his hair because it did not seem as though he was prepared for that.
Well, can I chime in and ask, because I'm out of the loop there, what was the segment for? What was the purpose of the visit?
Well, the segment was actually about beard transplants. So this hipster craze in New York and also Latinos here in South Florida are looking for beard transplants, taking hair from the back of their head and implanting it into their goatees or mustache areas or sideburns. And it's kind of a trendy thing. So we were talking about that.
Okay, all right.
So that was the primary topic. And I honestly didn't know how much time I was going to have with Howard, but I wanted to ask him, so I kind of moved the conversation to that direction quickly.
Listen, Andrew Zarian wants to say something to you guys. Hey, Andrew, you there?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, this is a phenomenal segment.
Well, what do you think? I mean, is it... listen, I don't want to even put my opinion out there because the truth of the matter is it doesn't make a difference, and I've never wanted to out celebrities. But, I mean, I think that Howard unfortunately put himself in this position.
Oh, 100%. But before I say that, you know why he was nice to Dr. B? Because he knows that he may need him one day. It's an option for him. Listen, Spence, whenever I call you off the air and I tell you, if I need a hair transplant, what do I say? Who do I say I'm going to go to?
I'm going to go to Dr. B, of course.
I say that every single time we're on the phone. No, listen, I don't know. I've, as Joe from Staten Island would say, I've done a lot of research on Howard's hair, and it's bizarre, man. I mean, the entire thing is just really bizarre. Either he has the greatest hairline for a 60-year-old I've ever seen. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But it's beyond the hairline.
But wait a minute, Andrew. I mean,
yes,
but this is the question. This is why there's a little bit of a question that's out there because I've yet to see a photo of the hairline.
Well,
whatever I've seen, Dr. B, it does not look good.
I will tell you about Andrew. Andrew's an expert. Andrew comes into my car, whatever it is. This guy is staring at my hair. Like, he makes me feel so uncomfortable. He has looked at me from every possible angle. He's looking for the paint.
I'm a victim of that stare as well, Spencer.
Chauncey picks that stare up every Wednesday. We go out to do a show, and we'll sit at the bar, and I just stare at him. I just evaluate everything on his face.
Yeah, but you're like sticking your finger in the hairline. You want to see if you can get any paint off. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. It really is.
Well, it's reassuring to Chauncey that he's not the only one.
Say that again?
It's reassuring to Chauncey now because he always thought he's the only one that goes through that, but it's everybody.
Well, it's true because you're hyper focused on hair, and you wanted to see. I mean, but Chauncey talks about the damage that was done to him, and
oh my God, it's really bad. I mean, we've had conversations off the air, and on the air, Chauncey's. A lot of people may think he's an ass or whatever, but I've got to know Chauncey, and he's one of my closest friends, and Jessica's my wife's closest friends, and
I don't think anybody thinks Chauncey's an ass. Why would you say that?
No, I don't know, Chauncey. Why would anyone think that you're an ass?
I can't imagine why you would say such a thing.
Chauncey had in his previous magazine that he was the editor of. He had a segment called the A-Hole of the Week, and he one time selected a man that tried to commit suicide. So,
oh my God,
maybe that's why. But Chauncey, you brought up something interesting, and a lot of people forget. Billy West went to one of those like advertised doctors, and from what I know, after it was botched, that's when his relationship with Howard kind of fell apart.
Oh, absolutely! I'm telling you, there was a lot of animosity towards Howard with Billy and with Steve Gorillo. That it was awful. It was like he used his staff as guinea pigs to keep the advertising dollars coming in.
Well, and that's what I found, and that's what I kind of, I have to admit, I was offended when he told Dave that basically the only thing we do with our program is that we are selling like Fugazi products or something. When that couldn't be further from the truth. We were really trying to guide people in a safe direction, not accepting the ad dollars that the Howard Stern show would accept. And Howard, I remember one ad. I'm not going to say who it was for, but he said, these guys do such a good job. The hair looks so natural that he's tempted to pull out his own hair and have a hair transplant.
Are we talking about the guys that hired the sanitation workers to do the procedures?
No, this is actually a local company in Los Angeles. But that's how he would, and listen, he was great at what he did. Radio is about advertising.
You know what? And you got to realize too, at the time, Howard had the country hypnotized. If Howard endorsed it, you believed in it. That's what made him a billionaire. If Howard Stern said, I am vouching for this company, I believe in this product, he was so popular in those days that you didn't even give it a second thought. You just did it. You bought it.
And that's a great point, because Dr. Bauman was a big fan of Howard. He was saying how he listened to Howard as a kid. And I mean, when you would hear these ads, Dr. Bauman, especially when you first got into the industry, I mean, you probably didn't think twice because you just figured it was a radio show.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember radio ads for hair transplant surgeons. I honestly, I don't remember.
You just pushed that out of your memory.
Hearing that, no, it didn't click with me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember like seeing Hair Club for men as a kid, on infomercials and stuff. But I don't remember hearing those ads. I mean, I'm sure that they were playing constantly, but I just don't. I don't remember that.
Well, what was interesting is, listen, what Howard Stern does is obviously he's an entertainer, but the only reason he is able to do what he does is because he's able to sell advertising. That's what radio is all about. So I felt it was really, I thought it was really interesting that he was somehow trying to demean Dave on the air or the Bald Show on the air when his job is.
I don't think it was a Bald Show. I think it's more Dave, because I would have done the same if he had called into my show.
You're so Dave did a great job, man.
Oh, he was.
Let me tell you something. That appearance, Dave's appearance on that show, changed the complexion of the Bald Truth.
Yeah, because he was a train wreck. I mean, he was just a bumbling idiot.
That's the point. That was the whole point of Dave. Why do you think he called me Mr. Kobren? I told him to call me Mr. Kobren.
Oh my God, he really I've listened to. I actually, what's funny, Chauncey, you and I have listened to that clip together at Sapphires.
Yeah.
We've listened to that entire clip, and I think Chauncey was saying I just want to punch this guy in the stomach. I can't tolerate his voice.
Well, listen, Dave was money, man. Dave was money. You guys just don't get it.
No, I guess I don't.
You don't get it. So, Dr. B, listen, I want to give you more of an opportunity. I want these guys to hold on too. I mean, did you want to talk about beard hair transplants at all? Because I think you know what. I don't know if you know what my opinion is. My opinion is this, and I'll put it out there. I think that it's a procedure that's been around for a long time. A lot of people have been helped. Guys who have had accidents, burn victims, guys who have had cleft lips or cleft palates, and then they had their lips, put together, and guys who just have a less robust mustache or beard line. They want their goatee connected. It's a great procedure if it's done right. But the way that it's being presented is though you can kind of get a designer beard. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about seeing that as the fashion trend, But then again, we don't see a lot of hipsters here in Miami, Florida. So maybe that's the issue. But yeah, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I've seen and done beard hair transplants for many, many years for exactly the type of guys that you're talking about: scars, injuries, trauma, guys with cleft lip repair who have that scar, who need to have that covered or to fill in different areas. And the other thing that we see actually here in Florida is men who have had facelifts done.
Right.
Who lose their sideburn areas or who have scars in that location.
Well, you know what's interesting, and you mentioned that. Guys who have facelifts, to me, there's the telltale sign of a guy who has a facelift, even a good one, is that, you have a little separation between your beard and your ear area. There's a little, there's no hair there. That is pulled back, and all of a sudden there's a beard line growing, like, basically from your ear.
I can't remember which celebrity said that he had a facelift pulled so tight he has to shave behind his ear. I can't remember who.
But that's
said
a telltale sign, and I mean, what do you do in a situation like that? Do you have these guys? Do these guys come in? Do they want hair, laser hair removal?
Well, that's a great question, and no, I've never recommended that to somebody, but I've never really seen a severe case of that. But the sideburn gets very thin because that's the area that's pulled and removed.
Right.
Right, so it's pulled back, and that's the part that's resected. That's the part that's eliminated.
Well, isn't that referred to as a Mickey Rourke?
Oh, don't get me started on that. But yeah,
that's a whole other show.
Maybe he's the one who's shaving behind his ears. I don't know. But to thicken out the sideburn, you can transplant hair there. And Asians too. There's a certain amount of Asian population that have some difficulty with thicker facial hair. So. That's the other segment of the population. So yeah, I think maybe the media has kind of pushed the envelope a little bit, working on the hipster craze, and then, as you say, the designer beard.
I was interviewed by a magazine that's connected to a major newspaper in New York, and at least according to the reporter, they're going to change the tone of their story based on speaking with me. Now, I don't know if that's true because sometimes these editors really want to stick to what they want to stick to. But I just wanted people to know the truth because here in Los Angeles, there are guys who are getting their hands on the NeoGraft or on other devices who are, they're cosmetic surgeons or even plastic surgeons, and they are now promoting beard hair transplants just because of that article. Mm. It's unbelievable to me. And, well, it isn't unbelievable because I know the nature of the industry. But there's going to be so many people that are harmed, and it's just the way that the media works based on these stories. I'm glad that they were at least able to contact you and guys like Jeff Epstein, some other guys who have had experience with beard hair transplants. But what happens is people think it's a one-size-fits-all situation. And, if they read about it in the newspaper and they see a local guy doing it, they think the local guy is going to be able to do it as good as well as you can do it.
Yeah, and that's a big problem because there's artistry involved, and obviously, the beard. If you don't have a lot of density there, it could eat up a lot of hair.
Of course,
you could be harvesting until the cows come home to fill up a full beard.
Well, listen, Doc, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the program. We've been on the air for an hour. I think you had a lot of balls to approach Howard the way that you did because it was done right. You really did. I don't think you meant to put his back against the wall. It was just the way that he reacted. You were just asking a reasonable line of questions.
Yeah, and it was kind of surprising just to be in the interview and to hear him just kind of almost distance himself a little bit because usually he's very, I think very close to the person he's interviewing. So yeah, it was a weird feeling, but we did get a lot of good information out there about because he was concerned about scarring, and he asked about hair transplant, modern hair transplants, and of course, FUE and minimally invasive work. We got into some of that, and even transgender stuff. I mean, you didn't even touch on the quintessential Howard Stern question was, can we take pubic hair and move it?
Well, that's too obvious. It's not. That's something I don't even need to touch. Where can people listen to the entire segment?
Oh, well, that's a great question. Well, I did not upload the segment. Many fans of Howard, I've already put it up on YouTube.
Right.
But if you go to my blog, it's actually, there's a link to it on my blog. So it's baumanblog.com. You can see the segment there today. It's the most recent blog post.
Very, very cool. And listen, like Andrew Zarian, he's a real pain in the ass. And if he says that he's going to choose you if he decides to have a hair transplant, I think that means a lot.
Well, I appreciate that, and we've been talking to Andrew for years about from genetic testing to.
He doesn't even listen. If he goes in for a hair transplant, I'll kill him at this point. He doesn't need one.
Well, what if people ask for the Andrew Zarian beard, though? See, that's what I want to know.
The beard is insane right now.
Yes, you gotta post up a recent picture. Is it the same on the profile?
No, it's even more now. I mean, I've been going crazy. I'm on this crazy diet now. I'm down 15 pounds, and I've let my hair grow. My beard is growing, and I just look insane.
He's like Jesus. Listen,
I'd like to call out Andrew Zarian's beard.
Wait, hold on for 1 second. Go ahead, Chauncey.
I would like to call out Andrew on his beard, his goatee. I want to tug on that thing because I don't think that's real.
Well, let me tell you, I don't know. It's so dark. I'm telling you, I made the magician joke. Like if I would dye my beard, I'd look like a magician. He does look like a magician.
We got stopped in the street. Spencer and I went out to Jack's in Uncle Jack's in Manhattan on Valentine's Day. We had a very nice date.
It was lovely.
I got stopped on the street by some girl, and she goes, I know you from somewhere. And my go-to response was, oh, you probably know me from the Bryant Park Hotel. I do magic right outside. And she believed it.
She's like, yeah.
I've seen you do magic.
Listen, Dr. B, I appreciate the time. I think you did a great job on Howard Stern. And if anyone who wants to contact Dr. Bauman directly, of course, you can go to baumanmedical.com, or you can go through the IHRS website, or there's many ways to find him. And Dr. B, any parting words?
No, that's it. It's been great to kind of rehash it. My heart was racing again as you played the clips.
Why? You did such a great job. You really did. It wasn't. I mean, I don't think it was insulting in any way. You were just asking a very reasonable line of questions.
Well, I appreciate that, and the fans, even the Stern fans, support that. I mean, the Twitter feed blew up, and the Facebook page. So people were supportive and also wanted to know what was going on, and they felt they felt that the question.
Look, I'm the one who may get some shit tomorrow, so don't even worry about it. All right, Doc. Listen, thanks a lot.
All right, well, at least maybe then we'll have something to talk about next week.
That's right. That's right. Listen, take care.
All right. Spencer, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, you got it. My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right.
Dr. Alan Bauman, you can check him out, baumanmedical.com, and of course you can go to the IHRS. We got a lot of calls. We're on the air with Andrew Zarian and Chauncey Hayden, who has some real, personal, I mean, he works with the Howard Stern Show for 18 years. He has his own feelings about whether or not Howard, either just owns his own hair or if that's really growing out of his head. So,
I'll tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, knowing Howard for those 18 years, and the one thing I can tell you, and I hate to say this because I'm not a big fan of negativity, but I swear Howard is not an honest guy. There are things that I know for a fact Howard says on the air that he said publicly that I know is false. He said things about myself that, like, Howard, you even know that's not true, and he says it over his airwaves. So it's very hard to believe him with anything he says because he'll say anything and paint it as the truth, and that, unfortunately, is the truth.
Well, that's interesting that you said that because, and this is something that really bugged me. And this is, early on in my radio career. And I know that if he actually spoke to Bob Moore would have gave him the reality of my program. The fact that CBS was paying me the $500 for the hour for the licensing. The fact that, yes, I chose to then basically buy my time because they were selling it to advertisers who I couldn't deal with and I didn't want to promote. And in the end, it was, from an entrepreneurial point of view, it was a much better move. Also, the fact that, he claimed that he could, if he wanted to, he can get me fired from the station. He couldn't have got me fired from the station because, frankly, at the time, for a weekend program to get a 2.7 share was unheard of. And the radio station, from what I was told, was using my program as an example to sell time to other people, to say, look what this guy's been able to do and look at the success he's been able to have. The stations were being kept afloat by weekend advertising, not by Howard Stern at the time. So
Right.
It was all bullshit in my view. And, but what was I going to do? Was I going to go out there and fight Howard Stern for what? It wasn't,
No.
it was just very interesting to hear him go on. And you heard the segment with Dave. And yeah, Dave could have been a little bit more, on his feet, a little more forceful, but it worked. It worked for what it was. But listen, guys, we're going to have to take a break. Chauncey, I don't know if you want to hold on. It's up to you. I don't know if you have to go, but I know that Andrew Zarian's holding on. We're going to take some calls. What do you say?
Sure, I'll hang out.
All right, awesome, man.
I love the topic. Anything to do with this, I can't get enough of it.
All right, well, listen, so you hold on. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. That's 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Kobren. You're listening and watching The Bald Truth. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
The man who's helping to make hair loss history.
They wish to cure us, but I say we are the cure.
It's Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Thank you so much for hanging out today, joining the broadcast. We are live, of course, from my studio here in Los Angeles, from my home. And apparently the soap in my eye is getting a little better. It's not stinging quite as much, but thank you for the guys who have been emailing me directly about their concern. I really appreciate that. No, I know I'm busting balls, but I do appreciate the fact that you guys are concerned. Let me pot our callers up. With us tonight, we have Chauncey Hayden, who was with the Howard Stern Show for 18 years. He is the host of the Chauncey Hayden Show, and also he is the editor-at-large. And what's the name of your magazine now, Chauncey?
Metropolis Nights Magazine.
Metropolis Nights Magazine. Of course, we have Andrew Zarian. I think Andrew's still on the air. Hold on. Andrew, is that you? I guess not. Andrew dropped off. Who's this, man? You're on the air.
Am I on the air?
Holy shit. Joe from Staten Island's on the air now. You see what happens, Andrew? You dropped off the line, and now we got Joe from Staten Island. Hey, Joe, what's happening?
Well, I'm here at 9 p.m. to give my weekly update.
Okay.
Live Bald Truth.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put you on hold for a second. I'm going to continue the conversation with Chauncey and Andrew just for a few minutes, and I'll I'll pot you down, then I'll pot you up, and you'll give your news, okay? You cool with that?
Fine.
All right, hold on.
Thank you.
You got it. So, Chauncey, obviously there's an interesting conversation. You lived it. You were there. You know the guy. I think it was interesting from what you said. I mean, it was a pretty brazen statement saying that, the guy isn't necessarily the most honest when it comes to a lot of things.
Well, I only say that from my own personal experience. I know when Howard and I had a very public falling out, that happens, and I understand it, especially in show business. It happens all the time.
Well, what exactly happened? And forgive my ignorance, but explain exactly what happened if you can.
Sure. I'll tell you, I had a very long relationship with the show, and one day, let me take a step back. I had a gig on ABC News called Tattletales, where once a week I was hosted by Gigi Stone, the reporter, and they would ask me celebrity gossip.
Right.
And at the end of one of these segments, she said, well, Chauncey, Howard, his contract's about to expire on terrestrial radio. What do you think he's going to do? And really not knowing what he was going to do, I just used basic logic and said, well, he's not going to XM radio because Opie and Anthony are there, and I know he's not going to stay on terrestrial. So the only place left for him to go is Sirius satellite radio.
Right, you just gave a reasonable response, a reasonable answer.
Yeah, a reasonable guess. You know,
Right.
I think most people assumed it. 3 months later, I'm sitting in the studio with Howard. I forget why I was there. I was there for some segment, and I'm sitting on the couch. And Howard says, Robin, everybody, I want to make an announcement. I have decided to go public with this today. I am going to satellite radio. Sirius will be my new home in such and such date, whatever. And everybody was shocked by it, and it was such a big deal. Well, the Securities Exchange Commission, you can't believe how in tune they are to these type of things, because
Sure.
we're talking about millions and millions of invested dollars based on Howard's decision where he was going to go.
So they were concerned that you leaked the information. There was some sort of insider trading.
They did. They really did. I got a subpoena in the mail.
Wow.
And I didn't think it was real. And this was to testify in front of the SEC. So I faxed the subpoena to my buddy who was an editor at the New York Post and said, this can't be real. He was the business editor.
Right.
I said, you see these things all the time. This isn't real, is it? And he looked at it and he said, I'll get back to you. And never heard back from him. The next day on the cover of the New York Post was my subpoena and a picture of Howard Stern.
Wow.
And that was the end of our relationship.
But that was just your naivete. You were just trying to get some help. You didn't know what was going on. You figured you knew this guy was your friend. This guy basically turned on you. He stabbed you in the back.
Yeah. It was a really low blow on the part of the Post. And honestly, before I even did that, I called Gary at the Stern Show. I called Dominic Barber. I called Will. I called everyone you could think of calling and said, guys, I have this subpoena. Does anyone know anything about it? You know, someone want to talk to me about this? Does Howard have an attorney? Does he want to call me? And nobody took it serious. So I just laughed and said, oh, you know, whatever. Yeah, right. No one acted on it.
Right.
And yet I was due to testify in something that potentially I could go to jail for. So I got my own attorney, and things just got ugly from there. You know, I ended up going on Neil Cavuto, and really just to say I have nothing to do with this. I don't even own stock.
Right.
You know, in Sirius. So obviously this is silly. If I was involved in it, if this was something that was underhanded on either my part or Howard's, I'd have some stock.
Well, either you would have stock, family members would have stock, someone close to you would have bought a lot of stock, during the time of the announcement.
It would have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
We would have made a lot of money. But it just, Howard went on this campaign for several months, just saying any ugly thing he could say about me. I mean, making stuff up, just anything.
Like what? What was he saying?
At me. You know, one of the things he said that really, really hurt me. You know, I was at an event with Kelly Ripa and Beth Ostrowski, Howard's wife.
Right.
And we were sitting at the bar. Howard comes in, and this is during the ugliness of it. You know, it was already bad, so I didn't say anything, but I was still very friendly to Beth. Beth and I were friends. And I was just talking to Beth, and Dan Aykroyd and his wife were next to us. It was just a fun night. And I went home feeling good that night. The next morning, I wake up to the Howard Stern Show, and Howard says, so, Chauncey obviously is a spy for the New York Post. This is how dirty Chauncey is. Chauncey got close to my wife so he could report negative or inside information about me to the Post. Now, this was coming from the next day after that party. The New York Post wrote something about Howard's handshake, or he wore a glove because he doesn't like germs. I didn't even notice Howard, didn't even talk to him.
Right.
And yet now he's on his show where at the time 16 million people are listening to every morning saying Chauncey's a dirty journalist. He's the kind of guy that does these kind of things. He's underhanded. He was working, you know, with the post to hurt.
So how did this affect your career? Did this harm you in any way?
Oh, of course it harmed. It was so awful. It was ridiculous.
So why didn't you did you go after Howard Stern in any way? Did you try to sue him?
You can't. You really can't, because you're talking about a guy who has hundreds of millions of dollars with lawsuits.
Dude, let me tell you, man, can't is not in my vocabulary. If this guy if this guy damaged your reputation and you were able to prove damages, I mean, if it was defamation, you had him dead to rights.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? It's the retainer. And I learned this the hard way. In lawsuits, especially lawsuits that have to do with defamation, it's he who has the most money wins, because they'll just ride you out. They'll bankrupt you until you can no longer pay an attorney, and they just laugh their way out of it.
Dude, let me tell you something. I want a landmark defamation lawsuit here in Los Angeles, and if you find the right attorney, and if you're able to convince them that the other side has the money, and you wouldn't even have to convince them when it comes to Howard Stern, the right attorney would have taken the case.
Well, that's the problem, is finding that attorney, and it really is hard to find an attorney willing to work on consistency like that.
Yes.
Because they know they're going up against a lot of money, and they know it's going to cost a lot of money, and there's never a guarantee.
But there's also a certain amount of notoriety and publicity involved, so the right attorney might have taken the case. But you know what? That's water under the bridge now. You can't do anything.
Right. I didn't do anything about it. But it did get very bad for me. I mean, every friend in the media world who I thought I had turned their back on me. Once Howard was your enemy, you might as well be cast off to Dead Man's Island. Like you're no longer. No one wants to get close to you or talk to you because they're afraid that association will make Howard mad at you and hurt you somehow.
Right.
So everyone just runs like rats. And you're standing alone.
Well, Andrew's on the line. He wants to talk about this.
Sure.
Andrew.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, are you even listening?
I am.
Because you told me to pot you up.
Making fun of. I'm sorry. My wife just took a Snapchat of me and just sent like a naked photo to all our friends.
Well, but Chauncey is talking about something very serious that affected his life, and you're just. I mean, you tell me to pot you up, and it's like you don't give a shit.
No, listen. The whole thing with Chauncey is with the whole the Stern thing. I think Chauncey. I mean, you'll be the first to admit this. I mean, you've gotten a really negative reputation amongst, I guess, New York, New Jersey celebrities.
Yeah, but is it really? Is it some of the reputation based on fabricated nonsense?
Oh, all of it is. All of it is. All of it is.
Before you continue, let me tell you just an example, one quick example before you say anything, and this is how bad it gets. One of the things, this is one of a million examples. So I called in to announce, I had the exclusive, Marlon Brando had died. And a friend of mine was best friends with his publicist. It wasn't even on the AP wire yet. It was exclusive. And I called the Stern Show to say Marlon Brando passed away. This is, you're hearing it first on the Howard Stern Show. So about 5 minutes later, Gary comes in and says, we just checked. Marlon Brando's alive and well. Chauncey lied again. Chauncey got another story wrong again. And then Howard goes, as he's ending the show, so once again, everybody, Chauncey doesn't know what he's talking about. Another false Chauncey report. I'll see you after vacation. And that's 7 days later. Well, of course, Marlon Brando was dead as a doornail, and I just gave them the exclusive of their life.
Right.
But now everyone listening goes, yep, that's Chauncey, man. He's always wrong. He's always screwing Howard over. And what do? You're just a lying guy that Howard paints you to be. Because Howard decided...
You're absolutely right, John.
Well, this is the thing. For my career, it actually worked. The fact that we got 17 and a half minutes on the Howard Stern Show when I was only 2 years into the radio game, and the book was still on the bookshelves, it changed everything. So as bad as he, as much as he badmouthed me and the show and made Dave look like, an asshole, it worked.
He didn't have to make Dave look like an asshole.
It worked for us. You know what?
Yeah.
Dave, you know what? Dave was going to call in tonight, but he's got a rehearsal. He's going to call in next week. I think you're being unduly harsh.
I'll call him when Dave calls in too.
I don't know if you would have handled it any better, dude. I think you would have been a nervous wreck.
I would have been great.
You would have pissed your pants, dude.
I would have been like, screw Kobren. You're right, Al. No, but listen, when I built my relationship with Chauncey, I mean, I didn't, Leslie Gold, the radio chick, to put us together, and she was like, listen, this guy is a great guy, and I know what you've heard about him, but he's really good. Like, I went in there for like 6 months, and I thought he was the biggest piece of crap on the face of the planet, just based on what I know from Stern and what I know from just the tabloids. But he's become one of my wife's and my closest friends.
Well, this is
and he's never done bad by me. I mean, 5 years now, never done one thing bad by me.
Well, first of all, this is not just to stroke Chauncey because he's on the show, but the truth is I met him once or twice, and then the first time I met him, the very first time I shook his hand, I was able to tell that this guy's a genuine guy, honestly. So I never listen to what anybody says about anybody. I make my own judgment. That's it.
Well, I appreciate that, but that was the power, and still is the power of Stern. If he wants to destroy you, he can, and everyone, pretty much knows it. So no one ever went to war with nobody. Nobody ever pushed Howard's buttons that didn't want to get screwed over, and the people that did, they were banished. There's a long list of people you can name that he really hurt them, really, really hurt them. And for me, I was a small time guy. Like I was on Page 6 a lot, and I did a lot of celebrity interviews. But for that guy with all his money to come after me the way he did and destroy me as much as he did was really, when you ask me what I feel of Howard, you know what? It's like a giant stepping on a mouse. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to do what he did to me. But he for the next 2 years, it wasn't a week, it wasn't a couple of months, it was 2 years of just coming after me like I was his arch enemy on his show. And there's no fighting back. There's nothing you can do.
Well, he said something very interesting to Dave. I'm not even going to play the segment, but he because it's a long one. But he basically said that he's like the Godfather. If he wants me to go away, if whatever he says goes. And I found I found that really interesting because the truth of the matter is apparently we really affected him, and because we were able to make the impression that we did, at least here locally on KLSX. That was it. When I spoke to the program director, when I spoke to the GM, I said, look, I'm not here to try to out Howard Stern's hair loss. I have no idea whether he's losing his hair. But if someone calls in to ask about it on the Bald Show, I am not going to drop that call. And you know what? I never did, and they allowed me on the air for years. So, whatever power that he had, at least in that realm, he signed a contract, or his agent, had him sign a contract where if he had to be on a certain amount of stations, I guess for CBS, and it wasn't like he was going to leave them. So I don't think they had any fear that he was going to leave the station at the time. So they didn't feel it necessary to kick me off, especially since I was just a weekend program.
Well, with me, it was a little bit of a different story, though, because I signed the pact with the devil. Howard Stern gave me, for those 18 years, a lot of attention, and he made the magazine that I worked for a lot of money by getting all that attention. So, it's the old saying, you live and die by the sword. Well, I lived by the sword for a very long time and eventually was killed by that same sword. So, in a lot of ways, I can't really complain. I really can't complain because everything that I had up to that point, for the most part, was because of the Howard Stern show.
Right.
It's like that dog turned around and bit me one day, and that was the end of it. But that's you're playing with fire, and that's what you risk.
And now you're coming on the hair loss show and saying that his hair might not be real.
Yeah, that wouldn't go very well. But at this point, I think even Howard would agree. You know what? What am I going to do to this guy that I haven't done already?
Right.
It doesn't matter. I'm very honest to a fault, and that's the worst thing you can be with the Howard Stern show is honest. If those guys ever told the truth about anything, they'd be squashed. They'd be thrown, into the pits of fire. You have to be, it's almost like the Emperor's New Coat, Whatever Howard says, it's like a religion. It really is like a religion.
Right. And you're the guy who's saying that the Emperor has no clothes.
That's right. Exactly. And I pointed and said Howard's naked, and, everybody just grabbed their mouths and said, how I can't believe what I just heard. You can't say that. And that's basically what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't give a shit about Howard Stern. I thought it was initially when I got the call, I was excited. I was like, wow, this guy's listening to my show. I thought it was a big deal. And, I didn't feel the pressure, whatever it is. I saw it as an opportunity. And
well, it is. It was.
That's right. Listen, guys, I know Joe from Staten Island is waiting on the air, online. He wants to give his news for the week. I'm so happy that you called in, Chauncey, and I really appreciate you taking the time to basically give your point of view, because this is an issue that so many people are asking us about. And the fact that Dr. Bauman was on the air talking about it and also kind of putting Howard's feet to the fire and saying, look, what's the deal with your hair? I thought that took a lot of balls. And
I can't wait to hear that segment. As soon as we're off the phone, that's what I'm going to do, is listen to it.
You should. It's a really good segment.
Yeah.
All right, Chauncey, man,
thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Your show is great, and you're a great guy, and I can't say the same about Andrew, but thank you so much.
You know what's funny? Spence? This is the first time Chauncey and I have spoken in 4 months.
Really?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, some friends.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, next time I'm in New York, we'll all go out to Uncle Jack's, all right?
That sounds like a plan.
Chauncey can't go there.
Why not?
I can go there. That's another show. Stop the nonsense.
All right, we'll talk about that another time.
We'll talk off the air.
All right, guys, thanks a lot.
All right, guys.
Take it easy.
Good night.
All right, good night. Joe, you're on the air, man.
Yes, I might have a brief comment. Chauncey can't go there because Uncle Jack doesn't allow hats.
Chauncey doesn't have to wear a hat.
Oh, and also, by the way, Grandpa Al Lewis was a dear friend of mine, as you know, came to my wedding, who knew Howard personally, appeared on the show many times. He told me Howard's hair is not real.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
My name is excuse me. My name is
Would you like to may reiterate it?
My name is
Have you heard it? Excuse me.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
So, Joe, you're telling me that Grandpa Al Lewis, who is a good friend of yours and a good friend of Howard Stern's, actually confided in you and said that Howard Stern's hair wasn't real.
That's what he told me.
Fascinating.
Did he be factual data that back it up? No. He told me from his personal opinion.
Well, I mean, this is all hearsay, man. Nobody knows for sure. And frankly, I could give a shit. I could care less. I thought it was fascinating that Dr. Bauman was on the air talking about it. I thought his line of questioning was just really spot on. I thought Howard's reaction was very interesting, to say the least. And it just kind of like everything just kind of worked together as far as what happened to the Ball of Truth and, the way he got really upset with us over a decade ago. I thought to myself, you know what, let's have Dr. Bauman on the air. We can talk about this. We can kind of rehash some of the old issues that Mr. Stern had with us when we were on a CBS station here in Los Angeles. And I'm so glad that Chauncey Hayden called in to kind of give his point of view, because he had a close personal relationship with Howard. So I think it all worked out.
Well, let me make a quick statement. As a retired law enforcement officer, when someone is so defensive about something, leads me to believe they have something to hide. That's all I have. That's the only comment I have to make about Howard Stern.
That's a possibility, or maybe he just is. That's what he has. That's his whole thing. That he has such great hair, and he doesn't want anybody screwing with that. That could be, that could be it too. Who knows?
Well, in my experience as a law enforcement officer, I'm not saying any person but Howard Stern, I highly doubt it. That's all I could say. Now, should I get to the news and millions of viewers?
Let's do it. Let's get to the news.
The millions you'll listen to. All right, first of all, I have several things to report on this week. It was an extremely exhausting week.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, a Swiss pharmaceutical company is now producing FG301, which is a topical finasteride, okay, which according to them, they have, in the product, they have finasteride, and scalp, shall I say, enhancing agents which penetrate the hair follicle. According to them, their product reduces scalp dihydrotestosterone by 71% as compared to 51% for Propecia.
Are you drinking tonight, Joe?
No, I haven't been. Actually, I'm very lucid preparing for tonight's program.
Okay, all right, good.
I'm kind of nervous, though, to be honest with you.
Why are you nervous?
Because I'm in a new role. I've been rehearsing all day for about 4 hours.
What's the role? I mean, it's the same role. It's just you're starting an hour later.
No, I'm a news correspondent now. I'm no longer, I'm different.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, secondly, Bayer Corporation, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, I'm sure you've heard of them, famous for Bayer aspirin, are in clinical studies. They've secured the rights to topical melatonin for hair loss. The studies have shown that this product increases vellus hairs by 30%, making vellus hairs into terminal hairs by about 30%.
Joe, maybe you should drink for the next show.
Obviously, I haven't been drinking.
Maybe you should have a drink for the next one.
I'm just extremely nervous.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, maybe I should, but I have a new role. I'm a news correspondent. I'm no longer a personality.
Dude, you've been on the air for almost 20 years. Why is changing from doing the top of the show to the end of the show, how is that different?
Well, I'm a news correspondent. My role is very, is like serious as opposed to my previous, joking around.
Let me be honest with you. Your role can never be serious, Joe. So just relax, take a deep breath, and let's have fun.
Okay, want to have fun? Want to hear topics?
Let's do it.
No, let's get on to the news. You told me I have to go by my orders.
All right.
Let's get on to the news.
Let's go. Take the marbles out of your mouth and let's get it out there. Let's do it.
Okay. Taiwan University in China is now conducting a study with 400 clinical participants. They're actually taking, DP cells from the dermal papaya cells from the back of a patient's head.
Dermal papaya cells. Those are new cells. I've never heard of dermal papaya cells.
Dermal papaya cells, whatever. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a reporter.
Okay, go ahead.
DP cells. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, dermal papilla cells.
Yes, I'm sorry, Spencer.
That's
I'm not a scientist. I'm not the expert you are. And they've had a lot of success. At 400 patients so far, they were growing significant amounts of hair, according to them. I have no evidence of this. I'm just saying what they've stated.
So what's happening on the forums? I mean, is there a lot of talk about this on the forums? Because I haven't had a chance to read them.
Of course. There's a lot of talk on the forums. It's all over the place. They consider this the cure for hair loss. Fourthly, Dr. Jew of Penn State, University of Penn State, has stated...
You mean the University of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, University of Pennsylvania.
There's the Pennsylvania State University, which is a university that I attended, and then there's the Ivy League school, which is the University of Pennsylvania.
Right.
And that's the school, that's the university that Dr. Katsourolis is connected to.
Right. They're stating now that they need $5 million of additional funding to complete their work. I mean, I find this, on a personal level, I find this kind of outrageous. $5 million for $1 trillion payback? Anybody would give us money. So I find it kind of odd that he would put this statement out.
Now, now how is he putting this out? Where is he put this out through the media, or is he just putting this out online somewhere?
Online. Several, online sites.
So he actually put it out himself.
Yes, they need an additional $5 million, which to me...
Wait a second. So he went online. He went onto a message forum.
Yes.
And posted that he needs $5 million in order to complete this research.
Not him personally. The university does.
Okay. I don't believe that the university or him personally went online onto any hair loss message forum and posted that.
I'm telling you, Spencer, well, unless someone fabricated that, that's a possibility, too.
Well, I mean, who did you actually see his post? It was his name that posted this.
Yes, on several forums, including the Bold Truth.
All right, I'm going to look on Bald Truth Talk right now, and there's no way that this guy joined the forum to post that.
Well, I've gone through several forums today. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a Bold Truth. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure.
All right.
I mean, $5 million in the scheme of things is nothing for a $1 trillion payback. Am I correct?
Yeah, but there's no legitimate scientist that would come out here and go onto a message forum and ask for $5 million, or even say that all we need is $5 million in order to either get this research completed or to get this research back underway. It just wouldn't happen. That's not the way real scientists work. Now, if they wanted to start some sort of a crowdfunding program, they would probably start it through the university and start it themselves. There's no way that they would come out themselves and post this online. And I'm trying to look for it now and see what you're talking about.
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding what I've read, but they're trying to get the money together, you know.
I'm looking at Bald Truth Talk right now, and I see a thread about it. Let me see who started this thread.
Okay, Spencer.
Okay. Now, according to my own site, this thread was not started by someone connected to the university. So how do we know any of this is even true? Now, this is not to criticize you, Joe. I just don't want our listeners and users of the forum to think that any stuff that you read on a message forum, unless it's verified, you have to check your sources. You can't just say that there's this, either crowdfunding, which I see here, or that, the doctors are coming out, the scientists are coming out and saying, well, this is all we need. And if we get $5 million, we're going to have this cure, because that's bullshit.
I agree with you. I said allegedly, Dr. Jew came out and Dr. X Jew, whatever his name is, came out and said this.
Right.
Allegedly. I mean, this is posted online. Do I have evidence of it? No.
Okay.
I just report what I read online.
Okay, so instead of saying that you're reporting the news, you should maybe change it to that you're reporting, the goings-on the message forums.
Okay, that's a very good point, and I apologize to you, millions of listeners and to you.
Apology accepted.
I mean, when I report, I've said none of it's verified. It's just posted online.
Well, maybe we'll change the segment. We'll give you an opening like Joe's forum gossip.
I mean, Spencer, I don't interview these people. I don't have these connections to be interviewing people from Dr. Castorales and all these other people.
No, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we need to kind of really focus it a little bit more and just let people know what it is. This is Joe's forum gossip. This is stuff that you're gleaning from the message forums, from Bald Truth Talk and potentially other places, and bringing to the table for our listeners to kind of, learn about and, maybe go online and try to digest some of this information. But the truth is, all of it, anything that's written on these forums, unless it's provided by an accredited expert, a physician, or someone who is actually in the field, it doesn't mean a thing until it's verified. And that's what people need to know. Listen, we have the most trafficked private forum in the world of hair loss. And I am the first to tell people that so much of what you see on there that's not provided by real experts in the field or physicians is complete bullshit. And you got to know that when you're going into this.
But definitely so. But, like what I said, the drug companies I mentioned, that's definitely on, clinicaltrials.gov.
Right,
That's
okay. And that's good stuff.
And the Swiss pharmaceutical company. That's factual. There are clinical trials being done. That's fact.
Good.
All right, Dr. Jew, let me retract my statement. Dr. Jew, that's hearsay. That's on the message forums. May reiterate that?
Yes, you may.
I apologize to you and to millions of listeners. And finally...
I accept your apology. I just hope that our listeners do, Joe.
I mean, what I report on melatonin is factual, okay? The drug melatonin, that's a factual,
right.
It's a factual thing.
All right, so let's go on to the next thing, and I'm going to take a phone call.
Okay, the final thing I have to report on, and I need your feedback on this. In your expert opinion, and I consider you the leading expert in the world, is Dr. Negro finished? Has he withdrawn? Has he gone away? Is he done? Or
I don't think that anybody with that type of tenacity is finished. The way that he came out and pandered to the message forums it's really unlike anything I've ever seen. And I've been in this industry for a long time. I have seen it being done before to different levels, but never to this level. So I do not think Dr. Negum is finished. I think that he is going to continue to be out there and do what he does and try to get his message out there to whoever is willing to listen. I'm not saying the message is real or if it's fabricated, whatever it is, I don't think the guy is finished. I think that he's kind of choosing another route because this particular route did not serve him well.
Right. And my final piece of factual news is Dr. Wesley's Apollo-focused studies have been put off to late spring or early summer. I don't know why. I have no. I'm just putting it out there for the listeners.
Well, it's possible that they didn't get the FDA clearance in time or whatever. I don't know exactly what may have transpired, which I could find out. But you guys have to understand that this is just another mechanical technique to move hair. So for those of you who are online who think that Dr. Wesley's surgical procedure is a cure for hair loss, you are sorely mistaken. It is just another way to mechanically move hair from one area to the other. In this particular case, they're removing hair from inside the scalp to leave no visible scarring on the outside of the scalp, but you're still working with a finite amount of hair. There is some thought that there's a potential for some regeneration, but that hasn't even been really studied yet. But right now, it's not the cure for hair loss. It's just another option in our in our arsenal. And do I have faith in what Dr. Wesley is doing? Absolutely. Do I think that it's cutting edge and it could eventually be a game changer if it works the way that he's claiming that it does and from what we've seen? Sure. But for all you guys who are waiting and wasting your time and your lives, not doing something about your hair loss, waiting for these procedures or for these, potential cures, don't do it because life is moving fast and you're wasting a lot of time.
Yes, life is moving by very fast. One brief comment. I'm going to give a good shout out to my good friend Ball Jerry and Dave Artista. I just want to say, and Apollo Wesley doing a scarless procedure, in my opinion, more donor area. Is that a correct analysis?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Repeat that.
In my expert opinion, if Dr. Wesley can successfully take more donor area, if it's scarless, he can take more donor area due to the fact it's scarless, you could yield more donor area. Am I correct in that?
Well, no, you're not going to be able to yield more DHT resistant donor area. But what you are going to be able to do, especially for younger patients, is you're going to be able to go outside of that so-called safe zone with a little more confidence, because if the person does continue to progress, and if the hair that has been moved is not DHT resistant and eventually miniaturizes and falls out, they're not going to be left with unsightly scars on the back of their heads, and they may just have a few more years, maybe even another decade, of a fuller looking head of hair. And then once that miniaturizes, they're going to be like, oh, well, you know what? I enjoyed the hair while I had it. But it wasn't meant to last a lifetime, or, it wasn't meant to last, as long as DHT-resistant hair. So to answer your question, the answer is no. Unless they are able to reproduce or regenerate more hair follicles, you are not going to get more hair. But you are going to be able to go outside of the safe zone and potentially move more hair, at least for the short term.
I understand.
All right, dude.
I want to thank you for your time, Spencer. I know I can't be saying anything else because you have other calls. Could you just leave me on hold so I can just listen, because my computer is down?
Yes, I absolutely leave you on hold. Hold on, Joe. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you, my friend.
God bless you, Joe. Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
This is DJ from Rochester, Indiana.
DJ, what's happening, man? What can I do for you?
First of all, condolences about your father's death.
Oh, thank you for that, man. I appreciate you saying that. Thanks a lot.
I heard your show where you said when people tell you your father passed away, he died, and my brother got hit by a train a couple of years ago, and he died. That's how I look at it.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry for your loss. I will tell you that my brother was killed as well about 7 years ago, and
yeah, I'm sorry.
He was snatched out of this world. He didn't pass. Someone took him. That's
same
the way
with
I
my
see it.
brother. He got walking along a train track. And, well, he was actually trying to jump a train. Kids doing dumb stunts, and he got sucked under.
Oh, man.
But it makes you realize that life is short. And I find myself on these hair loss forums, and I'm 40 years old, and I'm listening to some of these people giving advice, and I think I'm getting advice from experts, and I look at their birth date, and they're born in 1991, or they're just kids, and some of those forums are just so negative, and when I'm off them, I don't think about getting a hair transplant as much.
Well, let me tell you,
when I go back on.
That's interesting that you say that. And listen, I have a forum. A part of my business is having a forum, and I will tell you, stay off the forums. Use the forum for what it is. I think it's important for you guys who are interested in surgical hair restoration to learn about, the procedure, to interact with physicians and reps, and to, see images and kind of get an idea of what's going on. Maybe learn about some cutting edge stuff, learn about, what really works, like finasteride or Rogaine. But you can't get sucked into it, because you're dealing with a lot of people who are frankly obsessed, and I understand that obsession. I've made my living because of my obsession with my hair loss. But there's a healthy way to, be focused on something, and then there's the unhealthy side of things. And a lot of the guys that you're probably reading from and potentially taking advice from are guys who may not be necessarily well, or guys who are just so hyper-focused that there's paranoia involved. There's, hair loss does a lot of things differently to different people.
Yeah, it can be devastating. It can, especially younger guys, I understand. It can really, mess them up.
It does.
They're going to clubs and bars with their friends, and they're probably thinking, I can't stand under this certain light because it's going to show my scalp.
Fucking sucks. Look,
it's gotta be a fucking nightmare.
I'm 40. I'm going to be 49 years old, and I still deal with that.
Yeah, I'm 40, and I paint my head. I use Topic, and for me, I'm happy. It works.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who says that who takes issue with that, well, especially a woman. I don't know a woman that leaves the house, except for, luckily, my woman, who basically doesn't have like war paint on. You
ever see a woman without makeup, or
Yeah, it's shocking to see a woman without makeup. They're wearing it's like this full regalia with this push-up bras and these fake nails and hair extensions, or they dye their hair at the very least. they present themselves to the world in a much different light than they really look. So if we want to,
illusion.
Yeah, if we want to, control the contrast between our hair and our scalp by putting a little makeup on the back of our heads, that's all we got.
Yeah, and it works and it looks good. I mean, you got a great looking head of hair, and
Well, thank you. But that's it. This is what I got. I can shave my beard. I can grow my beard, or I can do something with my hair to make it look better. I got nothing else. No other tricks in my bag of tricks. Women have so much to work with that I find it so insulting when they criticize a guy for either wearing a hairpiece or getting a hair transplant or wearing makeup on their scalps. It's ridiculous.
A woman with small breasts can get a push-up bra, give the illusion of big breasts.
Right.
I mean, they got a lot of weapons in their arsenal.
Right, but what women do? I mean, every woman here in Los Angeles has they're stuffing these silicone orbs in their body, and that's acceptable. That's okay. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I love fake boobs, not a big deal. But the truth is that's socially acceptable. But as guys, if we try to look good or do something about our hair, it's like you're you're a leper.
Yeah, people, it's not shallow. You're not a shallow person if you're worried about your hair. I mean, it's an important thing.
Of course.
There's some scary stuff. There's some, doctors in the Middle East that I think years from now, they're getting a lot of accolades, and a lot of guys are going over there just from pictures, not from knowing anybody. But I just have a premonition that 5 years from now, some of those clinics are going to be considered the Bosleys of the Middle East.
Well, I mean, I guess it's always possible. We recommend physicians through the IHRS and that are allowed to post on Bald Truth Talk. But the truth is, you listen to this broadcast, which is connected to the forum, surgery is a last resort, my man. A last resort. Yeah, the one thing I'll never do is sell surgery. My head. Well, I don't love it, to be honest with you, but I think it's a great option for those of us who are like, what? If surgery doesn't work out for us, we're not going to be able to deal with it. So we don't want to go down that route. I think surgery is extremely beneficial for those who are good candidates, both emotionally and physically. But if you're not, then it could be devastating.
I'm like you. I have a low hairline and a lot of hair left, and I just rather... the little, thinning I have, I can just, put Topic or whatever spray. And
so then why do you go on the forums? If you're 40 years old and you're able to deal with it the way you're dealing with it, why even spend time reading other people's nonsense?
Because I went to a doctor to get Propecia 10 years ago, and he tried to sell me on a hair transplant, and he told me I needed 4,000 and 5,000 grafts, and I basically have most of my hair left, and and I don't know why I guess he was just trying to sell surgery, but I barely have any balding. I just spray a little or put a little Topic on, and I'm fine.
Well, then this is my suggestion. Don't waste time on the forums. If you want to watch the show and call in once in a while and hang out and join the chat once a week just as a diversion and just to feel like you're part of something as a hair loss sufferer, that's great. But to waste your time on the forums, in my view, reading up all this, I mean, like you said, it can make you paranoid. It could give you the idea to have surgery when you don't really need surgery.
Yeah. And I'm... I might have a little thinning, but I can cover it up with products. And I think if I had surgery, I know a lot of doctors say shock loss can happen, and it's not permanent. But I think shock loss can be permanent, and that scares the hell out of me. I'd rather not risk it.
I'll be the first to tell you that there are many in the field who will say that I coined the term shock loss back in 1998. There are some doctors who will say differently, but the truth of the matter is that's always been a concern. And the only reason I can have a transplant by anybody in the world, I can get a team of doctors together, the best of the best, to do a transplant. I choose
You
not.
could go anywhere. Yeah, you could go anywhere if you wanted to.
And I choose not to, not because I don't believe in hair transplants. I think hair transplants can be life-changing if you're the right
You
candidate.
don't need one.
I don't think I'm the right candidate. And just to, fill in my balding spot, it's like a black hole back there, until I really need it, and until I'm not in a position to lose more hair than I gain, I'm not going to get one. It's always going to be there for me.
You have, at least to me, you have the illusion of a full head of hair, and if I were you, I would never risk losing any of that hair for surgery. If I were you,
and I agree with you, and I appreciate the call, man. I'm going to take one more call before I go off the air. Thanks so much for tuning in. Listen, I hope you take my advice, because while the forums can be extremely beneficial to those who know how to utilize them correctly, they could also be kind of poisonous. So you just have to. Go ahead.
Your book was very beneficial. I got your book years ago, and your book was the reason I got on Propecia.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm glad that it helped you out, man. And I appreciate the call.
I'm glad to hear Joe back on the air.
Joe's never going away. He's like what is that called? What are those pennies called? Well, anyway, I can't get rid of Joe. Joe's always going to be around.
Everybody needs somebody, I guess.
Everybody needs.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. Everyone needs Joe from Staten Island. Listen, I'll talk to you later.
All right, man.
All right, take care.
All right.
All right, bye. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, Spencer. It's Dave. How are you?
Hey, Dave. What's happening? What can I do for you? How are you? How you doing?
I'm just calling to say hi and let you know that on my way home I was listening to the show. It was a great show.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I'm glad that you.
So, how do you listen to the show on your way home? Do you listen through Bluetooth? Do you plug in your iPhone? How does it work?
Yeah, exactly. On my iPhone, I found some sort of website that I was able to listen to it on the phone.
Yeah, isn't that amazing, man? It's interesting. I was speaking to somebody today. I was asked to actually go back on the radio, and the people that asked me, I'm like, and this is a while ago. I'm like, don't you know radio's dead? And you couldn't pay me enough to get on the air because it's a once a week show. It would be a waste of my time. And everyone's like, well, it's good exposure, this and that, and guys, you're listening to the show in your car. It's like we are on the radio. This is broadcasting. Radio, in my view, is it's like old technology. It's like it's like a VHS tape.
Right.
It's going by way of the dodo. So anyway, I just think it's interesting that you're listening to the show in your car.
Yeah, I was coming home early. I've got a lot of artwork to do tonight, so I thought I'd come home and listen to the show on my way and just call and say hello to you. And there was something that was brought up that is very factual. Life is short. We can't stand around waiting for some sort of treatment to give us a full head of hair. We have to live now.
That's right. That's right. People get angry with me.
For Joe.
They think that I'm somehow, I have this company and this organization, and that I'm just trying to somehow hold on to these old school treatments, and that I don't want to promote, what's happening and all the cutting edge shit. The truth of the matter is, we never know if this is going to come to fruition. We got to live today, man.
Yes, it's so true.
This is what we have. We have great hair transplants by some really great doctors and great staffs. We have finasteride. We have Rogaine. We have dutasteride. We have a couple of other things coming down the pike. This is what we have to work with. So to avoid that and just hope against hope that something is going to come down the pike in a year or two, you are wasting precious time. You might as well just shave it off and then check in every couple of months.
Right, exactly. And Joe, you should be listening.
Joe's not going to change. There's nothing we can do for Joe. I wish there was. He's not going to change. He's in his 50s now. Eventually he's going to be 60 if he lives long enough. He takes care of himself a little bit. And he's just going to sit there and be miserable. And there's nothing that we can do,
And that's pretty sad.
Well, it is what it is. Dave, listen, thanks for the call. I should go off the air, but I'll take another call or two, and then I'm going to close up shop. I'll talk to you later.
Right.
All right, take care.
Great. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Guys, I gotta get out of here, but I'll take another call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this? I'll give you one more try. You're on the air. Who's this? Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Hello? You're on the air. Who's this? All right. They hung up too. Good. I got to go anyway. Guys, listen, I want to thank you all for tuning in, hanging out tonight. It was a fun show. I want to thank Dr. Alan Bauman for calling in and being part of the festivities. Friend of the Ball Truth for many years, and honestly, just a really good guy who has, he gets critiqued just like I do and just like other people do, but he's done a lot of good in the field, and I think it's interesting the way that he's able to get himself out there and talk about state-of-the-art surgical hair restoration, the reality of hair loss, and the empathy that he has for hair loss sufferers. I'm glad that he was on Stern and he was able to get his message out there. And you know what? It's not about outing Howard Stern for, if he has hair loss or not. It's just a question in people's mind. And, he didn't have concern about asking it. And I have a lot of respect for that. Let me give out the websites, theballtruth.com for archives of The Ball Truth. And also you can always watch the live broadcast every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing more Ball Truth UK shows starting this week. So you're going to see some more stuff from the UK broadcast with our sidekick Specs over in London. You can check out, get information on hair loss at AmericanHairLoss.org. That's the American Hair Loss Association website. And if you want to interact with other hair loss sufferers, you could always go to our message forum, which is balltruthtalk.com. Again, until next time, I want you all to be strong. God bless, and thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.